Okay, we're going to get started now. Welcome to the FY24 Operating Support Grant Information Session. The applications are open now and the guidelines are up on the website. Before we get started, we'll ask that you stay muted when you're not speaking. We'll have opportunities for listeners to ask questions throughout the presentation today. If you can, please find your name in the participants panel, or you can also find your video tile and click the three dots next to your name or video tile and rename yourself, including your first name, last name, and organization. And as questions come to mind, you can also type them in the chat and we will pause at various points to answer those. We also have a special guest today, a previous panelist who will be able to give some insight and answer questions later as well. Excuse me. So I'm Jackie Dubin. I'm the grants manager at ArtsFairfax. Today I'm wearing a turquoise shirt and I have dark hair and gold glasses. I also want to start by giving a quick land acknowledgement. ArtsFairfax is located on the traditional lands of the Manahoac Nation, and we pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I'm going to pass it to Lisa real quick so she can introduce herself as well. Lisa, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Lisa Merriam. I'm the Senior Director of Grants and Services. And today I am wearing a black turtleneck and I have brown shoulder length hair. And my background is a teal blue with the ArtsFairfax logo. And we're so happy to see you all here today. And I just want to thank everyone again who participated in the grant feedback sessions. We have really appreciated all of the suggestions and the comments that you offered during those sessions. And I'm really excited about rolling out more changes to the operating support program in response to what we heard from you. So I'm going to turn it back to Jackie. And
yeah, to give a quick overview of our agenda for this presentation, we're going to split this into three parts. First, we'll give a summary of the grant guidelines that will make up the majority of the PowerPoint here. We also have some opportunities to stop and when it makes sense to answer questions. And we will then also do a walkthrough of the application. There are two different applications, as mentioned in the email you received. There's one for small organizations and then one for medium and large. And there's also a new separated out organization profile. So we're going to walk through and demo each of those for you today. Lisa's going to give an overview of ArtsFairfax and what we do here in our staff. Go ahead.
so this slide has all of our staff members. I'm not sure if anyone else was able to join us here today, but if you're here, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself. And otherwise, we just wanted to share with you the context for various aspects that you may need besides grants. Our communications team is Allison and Manuela, and they're who you've been talking to about your directory listings and event listings. If you have any issues on the website, you'll want to be contacting them. We can go to the next slide. I want to give a brief introduction to Arts Fairfax for anyone who might be new. We are the designated local arts agency for Fairfax County, and our mission is dedicated to expanding support for and access to the arts and culture opportunities for all of Fairfax County. And we do that through community engagement, including the arts directory and the events listing that I just mentioned. We have artist residencies, the Fairfax Poet Laureate, and we are working on the county master arts plans. The plan for the facilities is making the rounds for the final approvals within the government. And we've already made some really great progress on the public art master plan. So we also have a major event in October, which is the Arts Awards, and we'll be doing Advocacy Day for local arts advocacy. Will be coming up in April, and we'll be reaching out to you about that. And also want to thank everyone who's been helping with the arts and economic prosperity surveys. We're doing really well and nearly met our goal for that. So couldn't do that without your help. And of course, our grants programs. We have, in addition to the grants programs, professional development opportunities for you. We've been working on workshops for the spring, and we'll be rolling out a new workshop on evaluation, and we'll be announcing the plans for that shortly. And that, in a nutshell, is what we do at Arts Fairfax. A little bit more about our grants program. We have over $750,000 from the county to distribute for FY24. As you know, we had an increase of $250,000 last year, and we were very happy to see that in the advertised budget for FY24, we will be retaining those funds for arts group grants. So we know so far that those funds are going to be distributed through 3 grant categories. The operating support, which we're here to talk about today. We will be continuing project support grants, and we also expect that we will be continuing the ticket subsidy grants. That's the pilot grant program that is open now for applications, and depending upon our evaluation of that at the end of the fiscal year, it looks like it's been very successful so far, and we will continue that and potentially be rolling out other opportunities a little bit later in the spring. So today we're here to talk about the operating support grant program, which is our largest grant category. And the purpose of the grants are to advance the arts in Fairfax County, to support the arts organizations, to help the organizations to maintain and develop their programs, services, and facilities, to encourage consideration of diversity, equity, inclusion, and access principles in decision-making, and also policies, programs, and services, and also to generate recognition for all of the county's cultural organizations. So the specific goals of the grant are to provide support for emerging and established arts organizations, encourage wide participation in the arts by expanding exposure to and incorporating Fairfax County's diverse voices and traditions in cultural programming that is available to all of Fairfax County residents, to promote opportunities for a diversity of cultural workers, leaders, and individual artists and arts organizations, to create, present, and celebrate their artistic endeavors and traditions, and also to be a catalyst for increased resiliency, transformation, expanded resources to support arts organizations through public funding. So this is a graphic overview of the process that we go through for each of our grant programs every fiscal year. So we open up the application, and it's open typically for anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks before the application deadline. As Jackie mentioned, operating support is already live on the submittable website. Once we receive the applications, the staff reviews them for eligibility and completeness, and all eligible applications are then reviewed by grant panels. And the panelists assign preliminary scores and comments, and then we will be having an in-person meeting for the panelists, which will be live streamed for all of the applicants. And we'll be in touch with you to let you know which day your application will be reviewed on, and encourage you to listen in. And we're so grateful to have one of our panelists from last year joining us today, and you'll hear from him a little bit later to share some of his insights and advice. So after the panel meeting, we create a combined ranking of all the applications from the various panels, and we present that to our grants committee. And the grants committee then makes recommendations for the grants to our full board of directors, and the board of directors then approves those grants, and we send out notifications to all of the applicants. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Jackie to review the eligibility criteria.
Actually, Lisa, I have it as you talking about eligibility on our screen.
Okay.
So go ahead, keep going.
All right. So the eligibility includes, I'm just going to run through these for anyone who is new to the process, that your core mission needs to be the creation, exhibition, presentation, production, or performance of, or education in an arts discipline. And you need to be a standalone nonprofit 501c3 organization with current or pending status. So basically that just means that umbrella organizations are not eligible to apply for operating support grants. You need to have regular activity in a minimum of 4 months of the year or 120 days of the year. And you need to present at least half of your public arts activities within the geographical boundaries of Fairfax County, the city of Fairfax, or the city of Falls Church. You also need to meet one of the 3 additional locality eligibility criteria, which are meeting, rehearsing, exhibiting, or operating in the boundaries of Fairfax County, city of Fairfax, or city of Falls Church. Have at least half of your board of directors either living or working in the county, the city of Fairfax, or the city of Falls Church. Or verify that at least half of your participants and attendees at performances, exhibits, events, and activities reside in the county or the cities of Fairfax or Falls Church. You also need to have an address of record within the boundaries of the county or the cities. And that address is verified according to the Virginia Form 102, which everyone is required to submit every year. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. That's your physical address. An eligible organization must also be in compliance with all local, state, and federal laws. We do accept applications from fiscal sponsors. If an organization doesn't have its own 501c3 status, there's a slightly different application process to go through for that. And we can provide detailed information if anyone needs that. Organizations must also have independently prepared financial statements, and an audit is required if your expenses for the previously completed fiscal year exceed $750,000. Applicants must have submitted all their required final reports for any previous grants on time. Also, you're required to maintain an arts directory listing and also regularly list your events in the events calendar on the ArtsFairfax website. And your budget must be over $5,000 for the most recently completed fiscal year expenses. So organizations that are not eligible for the operating support grants include arts divisions and organizations with an arts program within a larger 501c3. So those umbrella organizations, they can only apply for project support grants from ArtsFairfax. Organizations that receive line item funding from Fairfax County or the state of Virginia are also not eligible to apply for operating support. And divisions or departments of George Mason University and nonprofit organizations and foundations that support Fairfax County agencies are also not eligible to apply for ArtsFairfax grants. So a little bit more about fiscal sponsorship. If you are going to be applying with a fiscal sponsor, we ask that you please notify Jackie, and she will walk you through the additional steps to collect the information from the fiscal sponsor. And this is also included. You'll see the first checkbox in the application when we do the run through in submittable later, also summarizes what's required if you're applying with the fiscal sponsor. We'll need some additional information. You can go to the next slide, please. So grant restrictions include that operating supports must support activities, programs, or projects that occur within Fairfax County, City of Fairfax, or City of Falls Church, have qualified artistic or scholarly administrative and management leadership, either professional or volunteer is acceptable, that are capable of completing the grant-supported activities, and the grant period is July 1, 2023 through June 30, 2024 for fiscal year 2024. Operating support grants cannot be used for fundraising activities, including capital campaigns or endowment campaigns, construction or renovation projects, political advocacy costs, activities not open to the general public, debt retirement, pre-grant cost, or faith-based activities. Just a quick clarification on activities not open to the general public, because we always get this question about organizations that are doing arts education or programs that are within schools. Those qualify as open to the general public. The matching requirement will be waived for FY24 in consideration of the continuing challenges from the pandemic. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Jackie, who is going to share with you what is new and different for FY24.
So, like Lisa mentioned earlier, thank you so much for your contributions to the feedback sessions, if you were able to join us this year and also last year. We were able to continue most of the changes that we made last year and made many more improvements this year. One of the, or I'll just run through the list and then we'll explain more as we go along. So we have fully separated the fully separated operating support into two distinct applications. There is a distinct application for small organizations and a distinct application for medium and large. You will see those names used in both the guidelines and the applications. And so there are also two separate guidelines when you visit our website. We'll visit the website during this presentation and show you where those can be downloaded. Also send them out by email. So small organizations, the new budget minimum is $5,000. And again, that's based on your annual expenses from the most recently completed fiscal year. Small organizations who fill out that small organization application, they can request up to 25% of their expenses. And the limit for that small organization application is also 100,000. So more people will be able to fill out that shorter application, and you can also request more. We're continuing to waive the match for FY24. We've also extended the window to submit an appeal to 30 days. It was previously 2 weeks. Organizations filling out the large application can actually request a higher amount. We've raised the cap to 60,000. And then another improvement we've made based on the feedback we received is we now have a separate organization profile for all grant applicants that can be used throughout the year and only needs to be filled out once. So we'll talk about that in detail as well. So that organization profile is a separate form. You'll be able to fill it out the same way you fill out applications. You can fill it out just once for the entire year. We ask that you at least update it once every 12 months because some organizations are going to apply just to one grant. Some might apply to 3 or 4. Depends what's available and what your needs are. But you fill it out once and then you'll be able to download it as a PDF and attach it to all your applications for the rest of the year. This form contains the general information that we ask over and over again, like your mission statement, the demographics of your organization, some of your eligibility documents will be in here, your contact information, your billing information. We still need reviewers to be able to view some of this, but we know that it doesn't change from application to application. So now, once you filled it out and downloaded it, you can just attach that PDF multiple times. You can also request to make edits as needed, and there are directions on that form that will help you do that. I will also demo this profile form in addition to demoing the applications at the end of this presentation. So the organizations with budgets up to $100,000 are able to fill out the small organization form, which is a shorter form. And we're keeping the same budget levels that you're familiar with if you've applied for our grants before, but now 1 and 2 can fill out that small org form, and then 3, 4, 5 will fill out the medium and large organization form. Budget size is determined by your total expenses from your most recently completed fiscal year. And we ask that you do not include in-kind expenses or pass-through in your budget level calculation. Small organizations may request up to 25%, but large organizations will still request up to 15% of your total expenses. And if you're applying with a fiscal sponsor, you would determine your budget level using your organization's, the applicant's finances, not the fiscal sponsor's finances. So pass-through money is money that's collected by the organization and then immediately dispersed. We do have examples of this in the guidelines, but this should not factor into your budget calculation. So required documents are now split between the two different forms that you'll fill out for this application, the organization profile and the operating support application. So the organization profile contains those documents that reviewers don't need, the IRS determination letter, the Virginia Form 102, and the board list with addresses. You'll upload that once for the entire year. You won't need to upload them again unless there are changes to your address or your board. And then at the end, you will download the organization profile and then attach that as an upload to your actual application. And that actual application, the other required files are your board and staff bios, work samples, supplementary materials, your 990, treasurer's report or audit. And then there's also an option to upload an organization chart or strategic plan if you'd like to use that to support your application. More about the Virginia Form 102. This is a form that we're using to verify your physical address, because our grants are based on your physical address, where you're located. And this is defined on the second page of this form. We expect that most applicants would have this on file, or you may need to fill out the other form, the 100, if you don't have this on file and you meet the various exemptions to the 102 form. If you have questions about this, reach out. We also have a lot of links included in the application and on the website that will help you figure out what you need to be filling out and submitting with your application. But we do need this to just check what you say your address is against a government document. On the right there, that's a screenshot of what the first page of the form looks like. So if it looks like that, you found the right thing. So following the application deadline, first thing that happens is staff will confirm your eligibility and check your application for completeness. We may contact you if we need additional information to determine your eligibility, or if you're missing items. However, we can also reject your application if it's incomplete, and then it will not be reviewed by the panel, but we will make an attempt to contact you and get that information added to your application. Eligible applications are evaluated by panel review, and panelists are arts professionals with relevant knowledge and expertise that matches the applicants for this grant. And last year, we were able to cover every single one of our eligible disciplines for, or our expected disciplines for this grant. So we try to pull from every one of those disciplines, and then we'll also match the panelists with the particular applicants that day and make sure that those expertise match up. We also welcome suggestions and volunteers. If you know someone who would make a great panelist, you can always email their contact information to me or have them send me a resume, and we can consider them for our panels. So panelists will meet in person or online. Most recently, with the past year of panels, we have done this in a hybrid format so that panelists are meeting at the ArtsFairfax office, and then we're streaming the panel to observers so that applicants are able to watch live. The ArtsFairfax Board of Directors makes the final funding decisions, and they make this based on the evaluations by the panel and then the overall goals of the grant program and of ArtsFairfax. Staff do not participate in the panels. We recruit and assign panelists. We check the applications for eligibility and completeness. We compile the panel scores. We are there at the panel meetings to facilitate time the discussion, move things along, and we take notes at the panel, but we do not participate in the actual discussion. We also build the funding scenario that is then checked by the grants committee and by an outside accountant. And we provide the technical assistance that's needed for the online and hybrid format for submittable. And you'll be contacting me if you have any kind of technical questions while you're filling out your application as well. So ArtsFairfax determines the grant amounts by creating or taking the average panel score. So it's all it's your total score. Each criteria is scored 1 to 6, 6 being the best, 1 being the lowest. And then we take the total, we average them, we create a Z-score, which allows us to fairly combine the various panels together. The Z-scores are converted into a percentage, and then we take the percentage and multiply that by the amount requested. So calculations are verified by an outside accountant for accuracy. Applicants may receive less than the amount they requested based on their panel score. And the ArtsFairfax Grants Committee will make recommendations for funding based upon the panel score, funds available, and also the goals of the grant program. So the evaluation criteria, there are 5 equally weighted criteria that the panelists consider. The panels are typically comprised of 3 to 5 individuals, maybe 6 for operating support, since we do have so many applicants. We expect to receive a large number of applications. The panelists will review and evaluate each eligible application on its own merit, not compare them to other applications. And like I said before, we're selecting the panelists for their diverse backgrounds and their expertise in a particular discipline, knowledge of the community, and then also knowledge of arts management practices that are relevant to this grant. So those equally weighted criteria are organization profile, programs and services, community engagement, organizational effectiveness, and financials. There is a different amount of criteria for the 2 applications, but they fall into those same 5 categories. And we will now look at those in detail. This is included in the guidelines. I'm not going to read through all of this, but I will point out that for small organizations, there's a few bullet points for each of these. Where we expect that you're going to be in a different place than budgets are much larger. So that is why the criteria is different. So same 5 categories for large organizations. Here's 1 and 2. We're asking a lot more for programs and services, and then 3, 4, 5 for large organizations. The application itself is structured in the same way, and you'll be able to see the criteria, then the questions, then and see how that matches up with the criteria, the evaluation criteria that's being asked in the guidelines as well. Excuse me. So we have a variety of grant applicant resources that will be, some of these are up now, some will be up today, tomorrow, early next week as we finalize them. Things always pop up during these presentations. We notice, oh, we need to make this change. And so I'm going to just go ahead and pull up the website now so that you're able to see where these can be downloaded. We have changed what our website looks like just slightly. We're going with a new organizational format that will hopefully make it easier to find these files. So this is the operating support homepage that you might already be familiar with. But down here, we've organized these files into 3 categories. The specific to operating support here would be the first 2, the grant guidelines and application, and then applicant resources. Clicking this button, this first box. I'll go ahead and open the second one since it's a little slow today. There we go. Oh, all right. So this is the guidelines and application page. This is that first box, and this is where you will be able to download the grant guidelines for the 2 applications, as well as Word versions of the applications. Those will be available later today, most likely. And then the information session slides and recording will also be on this page. I will also email it to you since you've pre-registered for this information session. This is the second box, applicant resources. And so this is where you can find your online application instructions, the Excel versions of the tables that are included in the application, last year's financials webinar, and then a list of recent recipients. We also have FAQs. We'll update this as questions come in, and information about things that are referenced in the form, like the Virginia 102 form, Arts Access, Arts Access, a map of Fairfax art venues, Title I schools, census information. This is included here in these links as well. We expect to also add to this a model application or excerpts from a model application, required document checklist, and some other helpful documents that will help you supplement your understanding of the application and prepare to complete it. This is a slightly outdated, we are working on updating this chart showing the distribution of arts organizations in Fairfax County, City of Fairfax, and City of Falls Church. And Franconia, formerly Lee, Mount Vernon, and Springfield, we've identified as relatively underserved by the arts. And then here's the list of resources for grant applicants that you just saw on the webpage. It's also included in this presentation.
Okay, so now we have a special treat. We're so grateful to Damian Sinclair for joining us today. As I mentioned earlier, he reviewed grants for operating support during FY23. And he is a development professional with over 25 years of experience in nonprofit arts sector. He is currently the Director of Development with the Nova Foundation, and he is here to share some insights with you from the panelist perspective.
Well, hello, everybody. It's great to be here. You know, it's funny, I opened my mouth at the last panel and said, hey, would it be helpful if I came and offered some suggestions? And I completely forgot about it. But the ArtsFairfax team clearly did not. So I'm actually really happy to be here and offer a couple of notes and thoughts based on being a panelist here, but being a panelist in general. I've served on multiple panels at ArtsFairfax, but I've also served at the DC Commission of Arts and Humanities and was on an NEA panel in the past as well. So I've seen a lot of grants go through, and I write a lot on my own. There'll be a couple of slides that follow this with some very specific points, and they're all good and they're all important and accurate. But I spent a little bit of time thinking back to the last panel that I was in and a couple of the specific things that the panel discussed and the things that came up over and over again, in the hopes that as you guys prepare for your next round of applications, you can kind of keep it in mind for your grant application. The first is, and I know this is written in the PowerPoint, you'll see it, is I can't more highly recommend that you start writing early. It is pretty clear as a panelist, the ones that got it in an hour before deadline and only started writing 2 hours before that, because you miss a lot of the things that I'm going to mention that can easily be solved by getting your writing done early. But the other thing that I think is super important, and I feel sometimes that we lose track of this, but as you're writing, it would be my recommendation to have the evaluation criteria in front of you and reference it constantly as you write. Look at the language, look at the wording of the evaluation criteria. And as you write an answer to every question, keep those things in mind, even if they're not in the exact same category. So for example, if there's a heavy focus in the evaluation criteria on DEI initiatives or diversity, be sure that you're consistently referencing the diversity of your organization in whatever way it presents itself. The biggest thing for me, and I think it makes a okay application good and a good application great, is the use of specific information wherever possible. Too often, somebody will write into their grant application, and I'm going to warn everybody here, my cat hears me talking, so she's going to come yell at me in a minute. But too often people use general language and general information when answering questions. So for example, I'll give you an example. Somebody might write that we're doing our program with Fairfax County elementary schools. Well, okay, that's great. But it's a stronger application if you're able to say, we've built a partnership with James Smith, who is the after-school coordinator for Herndon Elementary School. It gives just a little bit more information to the panelists and helps us really believe that you've done the legwork in order to build the program or do the work that you're doing. So wherever possible, use specifics in your grant application. Another thing that's pretty straightforward and simple, but you'd be amazed at how often it's missed, make sure that all your budget numbers add up. This is one area where a lot of panelists will focus and they'll count the numbers. And if your math doesn't work, that will reflect poorly on your application. So double check it, go through and make sure that your income adds up and your expenses add up. Lisa, give me a thumbs up. Is there still a budget narrative section in the application? Okay, perfect. So I think the most underutilized section of every grant application is the budget narrative. It is a wonderful place for you to talk about all of the things in your budget that you want to provide clarity with. Don't gloss over it. Simply putting numbers in a budget is one thing, but you have an opportunity to explain deficits. You have an opportunity to explain changes. You have an opportunity to explain what things aren't specific, and it is woefully underutilized. There's a lot of characters there that go unused. So instead of explaining your financial position in other areas, use that budget narrative as much as you can to give the grant reviewers as much clarity on your organization's financials as humanly possible. Another thing that I want to just kind of state is, please, so panelists have to assume that you've met all of the basic criteria to have your application in front of us to read. Having said that, please keep in mind, if you have had to go to the ArtsFairfax team and say, hey, listen, I know it's 51% of our activities have to be in Fairfax County, but you know how hard it is to find a performance space there. So we're doing some in Arlington and we're doing some here, and we're just at that 51%. If you have to clarify that with the staff, be sure to consider that even though it's clarified, the panelists are still going to question it. So I would be proactive and communicate those things to the panelists as well in your application. Simply being eligible doesn't mean that the panelists aren't going to dive in and question, it doesn't look like it's 50% of that. And I think that you can be very proactive as a grant writer and get ahead of that discussion by putting it in your narrative in the appropriate place. The last thing I wanted to say is, and it's funny, I'm sure many of you have, and I certainly, some of these names I've seen popped in, but please try to make the panel discussions, whether it's streaming or live, depending on how it's working. Be there and listen, and don't just focus on your application. If you can, dedicate as much time as it possible, because what you're getting when you listen into the panel discussions is insights in what panelists are looking for when they review your application and when they review other people's application. You'll get very specific information about yours for sure, but the panelists for the most part forget that you guys are listening in, so you're getting very honest and open feedback in real time. And that's so rare to get in a grant process. So I encourage you to go with an open mind. Don't be defensive. Remember that these are volunteers who are working hard to try to help Fairfax County. But you get a lot of great information when you're able to listen in, because I've been so impressed with the other panelists that I've been a part of. And how intelligent they are and how insightful they are. And they help me think about things that I didn't think about when I did a first pass of an application. So I know that ArtsFairfax team probably encourages it. I'm only going to encourage it more, because the amount of information that you will get from that, even if it takes a half a day and we're all so busy, is super powerful for future applications as well. So guys, that was kind of what I wanted to cover. But I did offer up that I'd be happy to stay and answer some questions if it would be helpful at all.
If anyone, thank you so much, Damien. If anyone has any questions, you can raise your hand to unmute or type them in the chat.
Looks like Laura has a question.
Hello. First, thank you so much for coming and offering your insight. It's much appreciated. And thank you also to Jackie and Lisa for all the information that you have provided. At the end, you emphasized, Mr. Sinclair, attending the panel discussions. Is there any, I guess, archive of panel discussions from fiscal year 23 or any of the previous years for applicants now to review, or do we get to wait until fiscal year 24 to view panels?
I can't answer that, so I'll let the team answer that one.
So Laura, we do provide the notes to each individual applicant, the panel, a summary of the panel comments and a summary of our notes from each of the reviews for each of the grant categories. And so if you applied for last year, you would have received that. And does that answer your question?
Kind of. I know that it was mentioned earlier that these panels are live streamed. Or
yes.
Yes. So is there an archive of previous live streamed panels, or is it taken down?
We don't actually record and post the recordings of the panel meetings. If you want to listen into the panels, you need to do that in person. And an added incentive to doing that is that we offer the panel correction form. So if you're listening in to the live stream and you hear anything that is misstated, that's part of your application, you can submit one of those forms to us to be corrected for the review.
Oh, okay, excellent. Thank you so much. And again, thank you to all of you for the information and guidance as we get started on this process.
Claire?
I'm with McLean Community Players, and we do theater, and we do DEIA-B. And also, can we send little videos for our shows to our application?
Yes.
Because we're standing up after being, dark 3 years, and, we're McLean Community Players. And we work only in Fairfax. So we can.
Yes, you can include videos as part of your work samples. In fact, that's required as part of the application. So we'll be getting into more detail about that during the second part of the information session here today. But if anyone has any specific questions for our reviewer, we also might go back to the PowerPoint and go through some of the other insights that the other panelists have shared with us. We keep adding to this. I think you covered a lot of the most important points, Damien, but that might actually also trigger some more questions from everyone.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a first timer.
Awesome. Okay, let's start with maybe one. Okay, perfect.
Yep, PowerPoint's back up, and I took it down just so we could see each other's faces.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, go ahead and continue with panel insights when you're ready.
So I'll just touch on the ones that Damien didn't cover in his comments. Using data to support your storytelling. Always assuming that the reviewers know nothing about your organization. Talk about how the programs meet the unique needs and interests of your community. Also using demographics to support the program design and your community outreach. Sharing details on your strategic priorities and giving examples of how they're being executed, whether that's programmatically or in your organizational management. And budgets that include diverse revenue streams, a combination of earned and unearned sources, as well as board giving to help to strengthen your application. And the panel comments in the past have also concentrated on how well the proposal showcases the quality of the programs, the organizational effectiveness and the community outreach, and being able to demonstrate an awareness of your community, including details on how community needs are identified and specific strategies to attract those audiences, and how you differentiate yourself as an organization. What makes your theater group or choral group, stand out from all the others that we have in the county? What's special about your organization? And considering diversity holistically, not just your audience and participants, but also internal, your staff and board diversity, your artists, as well as the external aspects of diversity. And a lot of these, we've really looked carefully at the application questions and the additional instructions, and tried to add some prompts in there to help you to specifically address some of these issues and make your application stronger. Some general grant writing tips are just to write clearly and concisely and keep your answers brief, but still include specifics. And I see Jim has his hand up. Jim, do you want to go ahead and unmute and ask your question?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thanks so much. And thanks for all of the information. It's remarkable. I'm a newbie to this process as well, but I've been working on a professional theater program for several years where we feel like we're closing in on our process here. However, ours includes, we're a 501c3, but ours includes workforce development and training in the culinary arts as well. So we would be combining a professional theater company with a culinary arts program. And I'm wondering if you guys approach that, or if that's something that can be even brought up in this grant as an overall project.
That is such an interesting question. So we actually, we don't identify culinary arts as one of the either primary or secondary arts disciplines, but you could certainly talk about the culinary aspect of your program as part of the application. We have, I'm just trying to think of like something that would be a similar case. we have applicants that are working sort of in parallel with health related issues. And so, you know, of course, like if that's a part of the organization mission, you would definitely want to discuss that and explain it in your application.
Absolutely, and we look forward to it. And you can bet your bottom dollar that we'll be reaching out for help. So I certainly do appreciate it. I appreciate all your information, and particularly the special presentation was very helpful. So thank you to
Great.
all of you.
Great.
And Lisa, I'll chime in real quick on that if you don't mind, because I
Yes,
do
please.
remember the health one. From a
Mhm.
panelist perspective, what I would say as well for everyone to understand, we get that you cover different disciplines sometimes, not all of it is arts, but this is the Arts Council of Fairfax County. And so your grant application may be stronger if you spend more time talking about the art section of your organization and don't focus too much on the things that aren't arts related. Having said that, culinary things are a great way to differentiate yourself from another theater group for sure. So touching on it, but just don't spend so much time on it that the reviewers have to question whether you're an arts organization or not. And so just remember, the focus of the group that's in the room is really looking to support Fairfax County arts.
Exactly.
Great advice.
I thank you for that. And these two will play integral parts with one another, and we'll be happy to explain this when we get a little bit further along. But both are training mechanisms to support workforce development and the arts in what we think is a very underserved area of Fairfax County. So
That sounds awesome. Yes, we're so excited to receive your application. We love new applicants. So, as you're working on it, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you. We're very excited, and we have the full support of our supervisor in this area, and even our delegate who has forwarded me to you. So we're very excited about this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna go through these really quickly because we still have a lot more to cover, and we're already at 1 o'clock. So, but I do want to touch on some of these tips just really briefly. Let's see. Using qualitative and quantitative data, you might want to take a look at the workshop that we had this past fall on data and storytelling. It was a 2-part workshop, and it was really excellent. Those were recorded and are available on our website, as well as the PowerPoints could really help you with this. Be sure to touch on the evaluation criteria as to guide your answers, as Damien advised. Just a technical suggestion to make sure that you log out of Submittable when you're not actively working on your application. And we also always suggest that you write your narrative in like a Word program and then copy and paste it into the application itself. Avoid using jargon, and make sure that if you're using any acronyms that you spell them out so that the reviewers know what you're referring to and don't have to look that up. Try not to repeat information in the different narrative sections. Again, making sure that the financial information in your narrative matches what's in the financials table. We also always suggest that you have someone that hasn't been working on the application to proofread it before you submit. So that could be a board member or, another staff member that hasn't, that hasn't been working on it. So helpful. And I just want to reiterate, start your application early. Please don't wait until the last minute. We know that, most of the applications usually come in the last couple of hours before the deadline. And hopefully that's not because you've just been working on them at the last minute, but you really can tell a difference, you know, in the applications where there has been a, you know, more thoughtful approach taken. So the terms and conditions, I think we've already touched on all of these during other parts of the presentation, and these pop up at the end of the application right before you submit. You're agreeing to all of these terms and conditions. So we can just go on to, I just want to emphasize though, that it's very important that you acknowledge ArtsFairfax funding for the duration of the grant. And we ask that you do that in all of your printed materials as well as your digital communications, and that you include an ad in your programs, whether those are printed or online. Also, tag us in your social media, and make sure that you're sharing your activities on all the social media channels with ArtsFairfax, and add your events to the ArtsFairfax calendar, and you can also add that link on your website as well. So we have the grant communications kit on the website available that has very detailed instructions about all of this. And we can go on to the next slide. As Jackie mentioned earlier, we have extended the time where you can submit an appeal. And that is all also detailed in the grant guidelines. And the timeline for this year is that the application is now open. It's due April 24th. The panel meetings will be May 24th, 25th, and 26th. The announcement will be in August. Final reports are due August of 2023 for your FY23 grants, and August of 2024 for these new FY24 grants. And in September, you will receive the final payment for your FY23 grants, and September of 2024 for the FY24 grants. And I also just, hopefully, if Damien is still here, I want to give you one more chance to ask any questions to him. And
think
if not,
may have hopped off,
okay,
actually.
okay. Didn't
I
have a
think-
chance to thank him, but that's okay. We'll get back.
I thanked him over chat. So
Oh, thank you. Okay. So now we're gonna roll right into the next section of the information session, which is on actually submitting your application through Submittable, and back to Jackie for that.
Yep. So submitting your application must be submitted by April 24th at midnight. Late applications will not be accepted. So like I mentioned before, there will be 2 forms that you must submit for this application: the new organization profile and also the application itself. And we have some links here on this slide, and I'm going to open them up in the browser as well to show you how this works. So all of our applications, when they're open, can be found at artsfairfax.submittable.com/submit. And then a direct link to your submissions is manager.submittable.com/user/submissions, which is included here, but I'm going to demonstrate how to get there as well without using this URL. And I'll also demonstrate the collaboration feature that allows multiple people to work on the application simultaneously. We just ask that you use a generic single email to send in all of your applications with ArtsFairfax. It can create problems if 1 year applications are coming from one person, and then 2 years later, they're coming from a different person, then you're not able to view those past submissions, and we don't know who to contact. So make sure that ultimately the forms are being started and submitted by the general email address, but you can collaborate. And then we also recommend that you're going to create the organizational profile first, so that you're able to upload it to the application itself. So I'm going to demo that, and then we'll have time for questions. So this is the ArtsFairfax submittable online application portal, some general information, contact information, and this is where you will find those 3 forms. I'm also already logged in using our test account. And if you needed to get to your past submissions or old applications, like if you're going to copy in answers or things like that, you would do that by finding your name, or sometimes it will be like a circle with a profile picture, profile initial in the top right corner of your screen, clicking that, and after you're logged in, you'll be able to select My Submissions. I'm first going to show you what the new applications look like though. So we have 3 listed here: the organization profile, the operating support grant for small organizations, and hold on, let's refresh. There it is. Okay. The operating support grant for medium and large organizations. There are the 3 new applications. We also have a couple other open ones that you can take a look at. So I'm going to first start with the organization profile. Clicking the title or submit will get you there. At the top of every application, there's some basic information about it. At the top of this one in particular, you have instructions that detail the process for completing this and attaching it to your actual application form. Each one of these each of the underlined text links to something that can help you complete this as well. Like this download link is instructions on how to find the download button at the end of the submission process. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Please make sure you remain muted during our presentation, and there'll be a time to ask questions at the end of my demo. So I've gone ahead and already filled this out so that I can demonstrate to you the process of downloading this and uploading it to the next application. So I'm going to do that. But it's the same information that if you filled out our applications before that you're familiar with. Organization name, we've added a field for check payable to, because sometimes the name of your organization is not necessarily who can accept the check. Mailing address, your physical address, which again has to match the address on the 102 that's detailed here. Your magisterial district, which you can check by entering your address into the Fairfax County My Neighborhood site, or if you're in the cities, you would select the cities here. More contact information, social media, the contact information for each of the grant contact, the chief administrator, the board chair, numbers of performances, exhibitions, events, whatever is applicable, you would fill in here. And all of this will be visible to the panelists as well. But you will only need to fill it out just 1 time for the entire year. Some questions about employment, and then here we go, the budget level, the same 5 categories that you've seen before on our other applications and forms. The place to enter your total expenses and your total income. The next section has questions to list your mission, history, and values. With our last panels, which were just a few weeks ago, we did have some questions come up from panelists saying, like, for a couple applications, it's not clear what the mission is, or I'm having a hard time finding the mission. So we've once again separated them out into 3 separate categories for you to copy and paste your mission statement right in there. I'll also mention that there's a suggested word count. This is just like an idea of where to aim so that reviewers aren't overwhelmed by long essays, but there is actually no fixed word count in any of the applications. So you can type as much as you want. You can also expand this box if you're typing directly in the application, though it's a good idea to type somewhere outside and then copy them in. You can expand this box and shrink it. It's pretty flexible. So you can technically write as much as you want. There's no fixed limit here. Also underneath each of these long answer boxes, you will occasionally see some prompts to follow. Those will be separated out with bullets or numbers. Sometimes there will be instructions to follow. Make sure you're reading that information too. We're also asking demographic information in this form, asking about accessibility. This is one of those multiple selection options where you can select whatever applies. If you select other at any point in these applications, it will open up a second space to fill in what that other category is. And then finally, we get to the required eligibility documents. So the required documents for this form in particular are the IRS determination letter, the board list with addresses, and that Virginia Form 102. And then here are some links that will help you understand what the Virginia Form 102 is. You can also email me if you have questions. So I actually need to upload these. I forgot to do that earlier. So give me 1 second. Just gonna upload some pictures of my cats. Just speed it along. Okay, that will allow me to submit this now. Then we have the place for you to check to make sure you've uploaded your 3 documents. You can fill that out as you're coming in and out of the form working on this. Your e-signatures, your date of submission, and then the last thing you do is agree to the terms of use. And clicking this will give you an expanded view of the terms and conditions, which is also shares information with the guidelines. So I'm going to submit this. I have successfully submitted the form. So what's the next step? Really, you can work on these 2 forms simultaneously, but you will have to submit this first before the other one in order to do this. So I'm going to go find my submissions page by clicking the name in the top right corner, clicking my submissions. And it is now under all submissions, which there's these various tabs here to help you find what you're looking for. And here it is, the ArtsFairfax FY24 organization profile for grant applicants submitted today. If I click this, click test. There's this button here, download. This is also where you can view the form, create notes, message us, etc. But I'm going to click download. And sorry, I'm moving screens. Multiple screens going. All right, down here at the bottom. Now I have that form downloaded. This is what it will look like afterwards. Of course, you will have actual responses filled out. And so with paragraphs, it will look a bit differently, but it will be a PDF in this format. And this is the document that will then get uploaded to your actual application. So I'm going to go and demonstrate the actual applications. Let's go back to, it's not the right page, artsfairfax.submittable.com/submit. Back to the online application portal. And this is grayed out because I've already submitted my 1 application and I have already downloaded it. So I am ready to work on submitting these next features. I'm also going to show the collaboration feature now. That's turned on for all 3 forms. So let's see, I'll go through the larger of the two forms. They follow the same format. This one just has more questions. So you have an introduction, a link to view the guidelines, and then a link to return back to that online application portal to help you complete the other form. So the eligibility form has changed slightly, and this is to make it easier to know if you click something wrong and you know that you're eligible, what was that incorrect response, and also to prevent you from filling out the wrong application. So this is the large application. If I accidentally clicked into the wrong one and I'm actually a budget level 1, it wouldn't open. I would click next and it would say I'm ineligible. So I'm going to pretend I'm budget level 5. And then the next question comes up and I'm going to go and answer these, demonstrating that I'm eligible. And for each correct answer, the next question opens up. And that's the last question. Click next. Now here's the actual form. If you're applying with a fiscal sponsor, you would answer yes here. And here are those instructions, luring you to contact me and give this information, and places to upload your specific forms. I'm gonna click no, because I am not applying with fiscal sponsor for this demo. And now you will not need to fill out the contact information a second time, just your organization name. This is the name of your submission, so we will use this to find you in our system. And then, have you applied for ArtsFairfax in the past? Yes or no? And then now we're here with the criteria. So in this form, you're skipping all of those questions about demographics and things like that and going straight to the meat of the application, what we're asking for. The only thing to fill out here for category 1 for the first criteria is uploading that organization profile, which I'm going to do right now. It would be in my downloads. Actually, I don't. Yes, that is it. So I've uploaded it. That's my downloaded organization form. I probably should have renamed it, but I won't because we are short on time. And it's a PDF. The only type of file I'll accept here is a PDF because I want to make sure that you're uploading exactly what you've downloaded from Submittable so that this is consistent for all of our applications. If you need help with this, just call or email. I will be able to help. Or you can refer back to this presentation in the instructions that are included here. The next category is programs and services. Like I said, both applications follow the same organization. So you'll have the start of the category with the title, the criteria that matches what's in the guidelines, and then everything within that category will be numbered. The long questions will be numbered with the number that matches that category that is slightly different from previous years. So 2A, 2B, etc. These are those narrative questions with the prompts underneath that can help you answer the criteria questions. And as Damien mentioned, it's a good idea to have the criteria close at hand. It is in the application, but you can also print the guidelines, have it close at hand to refer to while you're writing your responses. I'll also mention that we don't have reviewers evaluate based on the quality of the writing. So you will not have points deducted for elegant writing, not having super elegant writing or typos or anything that might seem not professional. In some cases, it may be better to bullet out your thoughts. You may be able to answer the question more closely to the criteria by bulleting out your thoughts. So don't worry about your the quality of your writing, typos, things like that. Circumvent it and just answer the question, answer the criteria in the best way that's possible for you. Going to skip through this section. Then we have the activities table. There are 2 tables in the application. They're the same for both applications. And you have way more fields than you probably need, but we asked you to list them by category. So don't list out every individual thing that you're doing, but list like the rehearsals, and then the number of rehearsals, and then the zip code where those rehearsals are taking place in magisterial district. If they're taking place in different locations, then you would need to use a different line for each of those. So if you have 5 performances taking place in Franconia district, and 3 performances taking place in Mount Vernon district, use different lines for those. Instead of uploading a separate cover sheet, you can now list and describe your work samples directly in the application so that you don't need a separate upload for that. And again, just list them out, bullet them, use a little dash, and and just make sure you're following the instructions with the title, description. You can also include links instead of uploading videos. Just make sure that those links are live and able to be viewed without without requesting permission, without logging into a website. Make sure that they're publicly viewable links. They don't have to be publicly posted online, but reviewers should not need an extra step to be able to watch them. They should be able to watch them on demand whenever they'd like. This is also where you're going to upload your work samples and your supplementary materials, and that's the end of the programs category. Then here's the category on community engagement. Couple questions with that, multiple choice question. Then the category on organizational effectiveness with the place to upload files at the end. Then the category on financials. So this is where you're going to ask list your amount requested, your method of accounting, and then your fiscal year, because we know that we all follow different schedules for fiscal year. Your financial narrative, like Damien mentioned, this can be a very underutilized section. And I remember from last year that we'll tie this into the table below, but I remember last year that we had at least one organization kind of use footnotes to help detail their financial narrative. So they would do things like this, like 1A in this category, and then go up to their financial narrative and type 1A and give notes about that. But use this box to explain whatever needs to be explained. We have given you prompts to help you follow through with that, and you can always refer back to the criteria to help you answer these questions. We also had a financials webinar last year, so clicking this link opens up the ArtsFairfax YouTube, and I don't want to hear my voice. So I'm going to close it, but this would be a recording of that financials webinar. And then also you can download Excel versions of both tables in the application to help you draft, but you cannot upload those in lieu of filling out the actual table in the application. It works best for our reviewers if you fill the information in the application, and to help with making sure that these are the fields are updating as you go. It's a good idea to periodically click out of the form. It's extra slow right now because we're running a Zoom meeting, but click outside of the form periodically to make sure that those numbers are populating and adding up as you work. Gonna scroll down to the bottom here. I'll also mention that the Excel version is color coded, which can also help with drafting out the information that's needed. Plus you have that so that you can share it with people who may need to contribute to the application and have your work checked. A lot of reasons why you may want to use it, but the color coding should also help. And hopefully one day Submittable will put color coding and color features in their applications, because I do love adding some color. Finally, you'll upload your financial documents, which will be your 990 or treasurer's report or audit. That'll be included here down at the bottom, and then you're done. We have this extra question here. You don't have to fill it out, but if there's any information that you felt like, no, I need the panel to know this, or I feel like I didn't get to add this in my organizational profile, add it in here. Here's your place to check off what you've uploaded as you work, your e-signatures, your date of submission, agreeing with the terms of use. Now I want to show you this. Last saved a few seconds ago. So your application updates automatically, or saves automatically rather. It saves automatically while you work. However, with all things, it's a good idea to periodically manually save your draft and also close out of the window, log out of submittable completely, because you want to make sure that you're staying in the most up-to-date version of the application. If for some reason it's not up to date, you will get a pop-up that says your application is no longer up to date. Don't ignore that pop-up. Click out, leave the application, because if you stay in there, you're going to lose what you're typing in. It won't save. You need to make sure that your period, when you're not actively working in here, close out. Last thing before questions, I'll demonstrate the collaborator feature. So up here at the top, right under the introductory paragraph, there is a button to manage collaborators. Clicking that opens up this field where you can type in emails. Any emails you type in will receive an invitation to collaborate. Check your spam filter if you didn't get it. Clicking invite, you can add multiple. If I invite them, there is a now like the profiles and the people who agree to collaborate will pop up here as these little icons underneath collaborators. You'll be able to assign tasks, I believe, and you can work, 2 people can work simultaneously in the application at the same time. You can refer to the online application instructions or Google or use Submittable's help desk feature, search collaboration feature, and there's a video that explains how this works and some more information if this is something you'd like to use and you'd like some more detail. And I think that's it. I think that's all I wanted to cover. Like I said, if you need some additional help, reach out. We have some contact information to share, and I'm going to leave that up while we ask questions. Oh, first I'll just say there's the Capital One Community Arts Partnership Information Session is March 15th. That's next Wednesday at 6 p.m. at Capital One Hall. So it's in person and you can register on our website. Okay, now we can stop for questions. I will leave our contact information up while we do that. So if you need to ask questions later, you can email us. I see Robin asked, there's a 100-word question about your staff and board in the organizational profile, which seems like a duplication. What's different? I'm pretty positive that we did a lot of work to make sure that there were no duplicate questions, but I will make a note of that and look at that in particular today.
The staff and board bios that you're uploading with the main application, those will be used by the reviewers to assess a couple of different criteria there. So they would be used both for the programs criteria as well as for the organizational effectiveness criteria. And the organization profile, that brief question about it, and there really is more focused on the demographics of your board and staff and just giving kind of a general sense of your organization.
Thank you, Lisa. Do we have any other questions? You can type them in the chat or raise your hand. How long should each board bio be is another question we had. So just jumping off the previous. what's standard? I'd say around 100 words is standard. It just needs to be a couple sentences describing their experience and what they do at the organization. If you have artistic bios as well, like explaining what the artist does, that is also usually very helpful for reviewers. They love to know what your, what your artists do as well. So you include artist, staff, and board in there. Okay, I'm sorry. I think I've talked over somebody. I think Janie was speaking.
Yeah, I will, I think separately talk with either you, Jackie, or Lisa, because Cappy's is always sort of a one-off. We don't fit in some of this, but I need to make sure that with some of the things, forms that are changed a little bit, that I'm still filling it out. Big question is obviously it's 51% of the program has to occur in Fairfax County, Fairfax City, blah, blah, blah. But because we are all over the region, but we still fall within that requirement. So anyway, I will talk with one of you at a later time and not use everybody's time for our own questions. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Well, we
Think about
covered
any
a
part
lot.
that we did. It was a lot of
And
information.
yes, hope this was super helpful. Again, it will be posted on our website, both the PowerPoint and the recording, and Jackie's going to be emailing it out to everyone who registered. And thank you so much to everyone for your patience here today, and we're looking forward to receiving your applications.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.